If you look at any business, at its core, you are buying something and you are selling something. And the difference between this buying and selling is your profit. We have always glamorized sell, but one of the key component of any business is purchasing thing at a cheaper price without compromising with the quality. And this particular episode is all about that. How to be a great procurement officer wherein you are purchasing things at a cheaper price without compromising with the quality, and at the same time what are the negotiation skills that you should have in order to negotiate for a better price when you are going in the market and purchasing something new. In order to get best out of this podcast, if possible, make notes. And second, listen to it when you are in complete isolation so that you can be completely focused. Our guest today is Vinay Srivastava, who is having an experience of 30 years and have been a procurement officer in the big logistic companies of India. If you are new to our channel, then do subscribe our channel, and I promise you that I will be giving you the best knowledge with regards to the business and finances. Here we begin. Welcome, sir, on the second episode of Mr. Fit Finance. And my first question to you would be, what is the difference between purchase and procurement?
Okay. Yeah, this is the basic question which uh, everybody thinks about. So when you are born, when you are a small kid, your parents send you and they ask you to buy certain things. Okay, when you are say 4 year or 5 year old, they give you some money, and first thing that you go and buy from a kirana shop is a toffee. Then as you start growing up, you start buying more things. uh, After say 10-12 years, they interest you with the buying of say medicines. Go and buy Disprin and Saridon, all those kind of things. And slowly as you grow up, they also place more trust on you to buy more things. So buying is something which everybody is doing from day one. As you grow up, you start buying things. Buying is nothing but purchasing. You go and purchase from the market. But when we talk about procurement is much bigger, in the sense that they we talk about the art of procurement, we talk about the science of procurement, we talk about procurement strategies, we talk about a lot of things. When we buy things from the market, we compare things. Purchasing is just you go for a shopping and you are buying certain things and you purchase. That's what a purchase means. Procurement is much more broader, in the sense of professional buying, in in terms of strategy. That's kind of a basic thing. And the example that I gave about purchase and procurement, so when you are a kid, you are not marketing, you are not auditing, you are not selling, you are not designing, you are not conceptualizing. So all the professions that you see in the market as you grow up, you do all those things later. But buying is something which you are doing from day one. And everybody thinks, each and every person thinks that he is a good buyer or he is a good purchaser, because obviously this is something which he has been doing from day one, when he was a child or when she was a child. And that's where the difference lies between purchasing and procurement. So you are a purchaser, maybe buyer from day one, but not a procurement professional.
Okay, sir. And sir, as we speak of an organization, so how important is the role of a purchasing officer or the procurement officer, I should say now, going forward?
So Ankur, procurement is a department which sets the benchmark, and a marketing department, as a business development department, they go out in the market and sell. They have to convince people about the right pricing. Now just think of it, that if somebody is selling something at 80 rupees and somebody goes in the market and says that I can give you the same thing at 70 rupees, obviously his buying price becomes less, his turnover, immediately increases. And that's where the role of procurement comes in, because as a buyer, if we buy from efficient sources, as a buyer, if we go and try to tap the correct resources or correct market for that particular product, raw material pricing that we are buying is at correct pricing, if the terms and conditions that we are using in the product, in the servicing of the product, they are correct, then the benchmark goes low. And if the benchmark goes low, then it becomes very, very easy, or I would not say very easy, but it becomes easier for any business development person to sell the products. So, for selling perspective, from the organization's revenue and growth perspective, most people may not understand. But if the benchmark becomes low, obviously your profit increases, your revenue increases, your turnover increases, and that's how the critical is the role of a procurement person in any.
Correct. Sir, I have a follow-up question. So I completely understand that procurement officer is someone who ensures that we purchase or buy the product at a lesser price. But you being a procurement officer, what are the tools or tactics that you use which can give you the confidence that along with the I can say optimizing cost, you are also ensuring the quality of the product that you are purchasing. So how do you match that you are not compromising on the quality as well?
First thing is, what do we need? What is our need? Somebody comes to me, as a procurement person, or as a somebody will ask you, will tell you, I am I am feeling hungry now. When you are feeling hungry, what is it that you can buy? Or I'm feeling thirsty. So when you are thirsty, what is it that you need to drink? So if I'm thirsty, I can have water. If I am thirsty, I can have chas. I can have lemon. I can have drinks. I can have soft drinks. I can have hard drinks. So there's a different varieties, and there are different things which you can use or consume to quench that thirst or satisfy your hunger. So the problem statement definition is very, very important. You should know what is it that the person needs. Some people will just come and say that I need this. Solution is something which a procurement person can provide to understand. He'll do the value engineering, and then he can propose a correct product or a correct item which will solve his purpose. So there will be somebody who says that I need a particular brand of phone only because it might be his status symbol. But behind that, there are certain needs. Behind that, there are certain features that he is looking for. If, as a procurement person, I can understand all those things, I can understand what is he really looking for, and that can only happen when I entered into the picture at the correct stage. Sometimes it happens that procurement gets involved at a very late stage, wherein the users have already made up their mind, or somebody has already made up their mind, no, I want to buy this only. And then they will come to you saying that, please go ahead and buy. I do not have any role to play. But if you involve me, if you take me into the process of going into the problem statement of what to buy or what is your actual thing, then I will be able to suggest much more better products for you, variety for you. Uh, Everybody, the buyers, the market approaches the procurement people because they know that they are the face of the organization. So we are having much more visibility in terms of market, and that is something which we can showcase internally, and internal requirements can be showcased externally. We kind of bridge the gap between these two people.
Okay. Sir, on the same line, let's say as you were giving the example of phone and you also talked about the brand. So generally, let's say the companies that you have worked with, or maybe in the industry that you have worked with, I'm pretty much sure that you have met a lot of people from different organizations. So organization go for brands, or they generally go for the requirement that this is our requirement no matter what the brand is, or is it that the companies are more focused towards the brand?
So, that's what sometimes India is accused of. India, it is always said that India is a very price sensitive market. Why? Because we go in for the cheapest products, and we go in for something which is very, very cheap. Uh, Probably that is not true. That is a kind of impression which has been created for the procurement people. As I said, value statement is very important, very, very important to understand what is it that you need. And if you define what you need, then it becomes easier for you to go ahead and buy. If there's a product in which a particular feature is needed and it is not there in other product, so that other product immediately goes off the radar. That is not in the shortlist. Before going on to the value, before going on to the cost of the product, we have to understand that uh, what is it that we need, and that is where the shortlisting process happens. So there again, there's a category of buying. There will be certain projects, there will be certain so to say solution statement, certain requirements wherein it is said that no, we want this particular thing only, and there must be a reason behind. At some points of time, we need to showcase our value and worth. uh, Hypothetically, if I am associating myself with a big brand which is associated with quality, which is known for the quality in the market, and when we come with that brand, so we are also known, because that product is
Mm,
known for quality and we are using that. If
true.
I'm using this product, which means I'm also so much. If somebody is using a cheap quality product, then he is also seen as his offering is also seen like. So for for any organization, the end purpose, the the overall strategy is very, very important. And there's one there's one model in which we talk about the value and the risk. On one tangent there's a value, and another tangent there's a risk. So cost of the product low, margin low, least interest. Cost of the product low, but risk is very high, very, very high. So probably that product is being used. The cost of that product might be 2 rupees, but it must be used to protect the products which are say 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupees. How much does a lock cost? 20 rupees, 50 rupees, sorry, 100 rupees, 200 rupees. These days digital locks cost 5,000 rupees, but they are protecting the goods worth lakhs inside, which is inside. It is important for us to understand where is that product being used. So that comes to the second category. Third is the mass category, in which product cost must be low, but the numbers that you're purchasing is very, very high, and there you have the scope of bulk buying, efficient negotiation. And finally, there's a fourth tangent wherein uh, we have to decide as a strategy, as an organization, what do we have. So there the risk is very high. There it is more of a strategic decision. How do we want to place ourselves? How do we see this organization going? The partners that we are associating with, how are what is their growth plan? How is it that they are projecting themselves in next 5 years, 7 years? So are we growing with them, or they are at the end of the curve? And that is what is reflected in the buying decisions and the buying pattern.
Got it, got it. So, sir, me being a layman, I went through your profile and there were a lot of things that I got to know about you. So, my first curiosity or the thing that came to my mind was you have worked in various industries. It is not
Yeah.
just restricted to the logistic industry, but there were hospitality and so many more. So, you being a uh, procurement officer. So I'm pretty much sure the fundamentals remain the same when it comes to purchasing or procuring. But
Yes.
still, you have to know about various different products. So how did you build that proficiency that, okay, now I'm in hospitality, their requirements are different. I must know each and every product that they have to procure. Then you are going into, let's say, hospital industry, their requirement are different. Then logistic, it is different. So how much time it takes and what are the things that you do to ensure that you build proficiency as soon as possible? And how difficult is the transition from one industry to another industry?
Yeah, so in 30 years of my career, almost every company that I have changed, it has been a different industry altogether. Right from my first organization, from textile to pharmaceuticals to petroleum to warehousing, retail to express. So there has been, except for once wherein I shift from pharma to pharma. Otherwise, it has always been a different industry altogether. Um, I've purchased practically pin to elephant. I have taken care of all kinds of procurement. When you are in certain field, you get restricted towards that only. So I am doing an audit, so I'll do audit throughout my life. I'm a cost accountant, so I'll do cost accountancy throughout my life. However, I have not done that, and that has been a conscious decision. uh, Plus, I have added things in my profile in the sense that I have also started taking care of real estate. Real estate was nothing but a buy, it's a service. It's a service by somebody who has got a space, and I'm negotiating that space and using that space for some point of time. That's how I view real estate as, and obviously, I'm also handling admin maintenance and all these kind of things. Now, uh, doing all these things have not been very easy, but one thing which I have always been doing a lot is homework, and I prepare a lot before each and every negotiation. I prepare a lot in terms of understanding that product, in terms of understanding the person with whom I'm going to negotiate, the background of that person, in which companies he has worked with. uh, you know as a toastmaster, we are used to body language and communication. When I'm negotiating, each and every small things matter when I negotiate with a person. How he is moving his hands, how are his legs placed, whether he is shivery, shaking, whether he is confident, not confident, at which level person I am negotiating. All these things make a difference. So for me, there are two mantras. First is homework, a lot of homework about the product, about the organization, about the market, about the industry. Uh, Probably, if I can just benchmark, if I have to do a negotiation of say 1 hour or so, if the I will probably spend 8 hours in terms of understanding that product, reading about that. And then when it comes to the hardcore negotiation, when I'm sitting in front of that person, then it is all about his behavior, his body language, small eye gestures, small his movement, his hands, hand movements. When I'm offering him tea, whether he is having that tea or not, very small things. Uh, Whether he is confident in sitting in front of me. When a boss and his assistant are sitting, the conversation between them also is very important. All these things, minute observations. So I'm an observer, I am a storyteller, or as I say, I'm a story catcher, not more than a storyteller. Uh, I very minutely observe all these things, and obviously these things have helped me a lot in my career. And homework obviously is something which you cannot avoid if you want to be very successful.
Sir, I will continue with the same question. We can consider it as a sub question. Let's say you moved from pharma to real estate. So, what kind of homework you performed while making that switch so that you have an understanding of a entirely new segment?
So you are a finance person, you will understand cost accounting. I'll
Hmm.
explain whatever I'm trying to say in terms of cost accounting. When you
Sure.
are when you are selling a product, you should know the price at which you are selling, whether you are making margin or not. And how do you do that? You do that by comparing various indirect costs, direct costs, the tax structure, and everything. Now, the direct and indirect costs also has a bearing on the quantity or the volume that you are buying. If you are buying a particular thing, say in just 1,000, there will be a different discount or there will be different cost. But if you are buying in bulk, there would be a different cost. Everything boils down to this entire Excel sheet wherein these various components are broken down. If I'm buying a gift, if I'm buying a pad, if I have to buy a pad like this, okay, now a pad like this,
Hmm.
so there is some kind of a printing here, there's a swirl here, and all that. Now, what is the cost of a 70 GSM Senar Mars paper or 70 GSM map litho? what is the cost of 4-color printing or a single color printing? If the paper sheet is 28 by 36 or 10 by 20, what is the cost of the paper? In one particular paper, how much wastage is coming? If I am printing in offset, if I am printing in screen, all these cost components go go a long way in terms of understanding the cost. If I am buying a plastic bag, how much of HDPE component, how much of those plastic resins are consumed? What is the tubing cost? What is the cost of electricity consumed to
Mhm.
make a batch of 1,000 plastic bags? How much loaders are needed? What are the salaries of those loaders? All these small things help you understand the costing of that product. And that is precisely what I do. I may be buying a product which is, kind of, a paper stationery or a book, or I might be buying something in IT infrastructure, IT hardware, servers, and all. Now they have their various costing structures. They have their various discounting. One thing which which we never take into account is our peers in procurement industry, or our networking circles. So the more people
Mm.
that we are connected with, it helps us give insights. When I speak to somebody, what you are buying, how you are buying, getting insights from them when we are meeting them at various conferences, and breaking up of the price of any component in terms of what is the discount, what is the price, it helps. If I'm buying a product from the from from say US, then there is some ex factory price. Then there are various components, in terms of whether it is CIF, whether it is FOB. Everything has to be broken down. If it is broken down, you will very clearly know where is the margin line. If
Yeah.
there's a difference in raw material, probably instead of 80 rupees per kg, he is putting the cost as 120 rupees per kg. There have been so many instances wherein, while negotiating, I have told the vendor, your raw material sourcing price is wrong. Probably you can go to that location and buy the raw material, and that will cost you cheaper. And I can tell you, they have thanked me for that, because they might not have
Okay.
got the order from me, but they have definitely got orders from other organizations. So they may have lost order from me, but while they are breaking down, if you have understood the cost of, the
Yeah.
concept of cost accounting, everything is that only. Anything that you buy is that.
Sir, I mean, excellent. I have never looked at it with this perspective. It just made me curious. How do you know that this is their exact cost structure? As you were mentioning that there is a possibility that they might be procuring raw material at a higher price because they will be providing you just the final price of their product. So, I mean, if you can shed some light on it.
So homework, a lot of homework is needed
Okay.
in terms of actually going out in the market, in terms of going in the market and trying to understand what is the pricing of that market. I can tell you, while I was in pharmaceutical industry and we were buying a product which was an injection, and that was used for say some knee pain. And you know what they were using? They were using that uh, you know hence red, I don't remember what the kalgi, what they call in Hindi. uh, have you seen the chicken or hens red thing
Yeah,
at the
yeah, yeah.
top? I,
Huh, huh.
what exactly it is called? So they were using that thing. So I have gone to the butcher markets and tried to understand what is the cost of that particular product, what is it
Okay.
that they are selling. Another thing is that never go and buy from intermediaries. Directly go and source it directly from the OEMs or those who are producing it. Because the more intermediaries that you add, you will be adding much more. Every layer gets added.
Cost. Yeah.
With each layer, some profits get added. So to that
Yeah.
extent, I am a firm believer that if you have to buy a product, then you have to go to the shop floor. You have to go to the
Mm.
facility where he's manufacturing. Once you go to the facility where he's manufacturing, you will get much more idea. We in Japanese they call something. There's a concept called gemba. Gemba. What is gemba? Gemba
Okay.
is a scene of crime. So they say that you cannot sit in the police station or you cannot sit in your office and investigate a crime. To investigate a
Hmm.
crime, you have to go to the crime spot, and then only you will find the small clues which will help you find the criminal. And I use Gemba walk in terms of going to the vendors and going to their facilities, going to their to the spot where they are manufacturing. I send my team there so that they can understand how each and everything is being used. There was there was one particular vendor who was, whose cost was very high, and then we came to know that when we went there, his probably sourcing of labor was wrong. He was sourcing labor at very high cost. When we went there, we kind
Okay.
of understood that he is not going for a right kind of labor. There are some people who will carry on the work that they are doing because their forefathers have been doing it, or it has been, this is the way it is being done. We suggested them, the moment they changed the model, the whole price came down. So I only wanted to talk about Gemba in the sense that when you go to
Got
the
it.
scene, when you go to the place where things are being manufactured, serviced, when you go to the place where things are being made, you will get to know what is it that you can do in terms of cost.
Awesome. तो सर बहुत ही बेसिक टू क्वेश्चंस within that this particular answer itself. First is you talked about something called as OEM. Can you please tell me what is the full form of that OEM?
Okay, sorry. So OEM is original equipment manufacturer, which means that,
Okay.
for example, um, there's a DG set you buy from dealers,
Hmm.
or you go directly to the original person who is making it. That is
Got it,
OEM.
sir. Got it. And sir, one more thing, because people might not be having an idea about it. So, I mean, if I am a buyer and specifically a big buyer, so the seller won't hesitate inviting me for his manufacture to his manufacturing plant. Is it the case?
If I'm a buyer, then seller will not invite me in his manufacturing plant.
Sir, he will invite me. As you were mentioning that you can go if you are a buyer and let's say I am the seller. So in particular case, I will be open heartedly inviting you to come to my factory. Isn't it the case of let's say uh, not disclosing my secrets or trade practices?
No, so the point is that there is a certain degree of transparency. If we go to a certain some
Okay.
printing press, they are printing some confidential data. Probably they can exclude me in terms of going and seeing the exact data, but infrastructure I need to understand. I need to understand what is
Okay.
it that they are making, how they are making the entire process, how is the movement happening, where's the warehouse, where's the logistic, that kind of a thing. uh, One thing which I've noticed many times is that somebody is hiding something, or somebody has got a very high kind of a margin which is unexplained. And when I tell him that
Mm.
I want to visit and I want to be a part of the entire thing, and if he does not invite me, or if he persistently makes sure that I do not come, then obviously he's
Mm.
hiding something, and that is something which is kind of a flag off. So you come to know automatically that yes, he's not a correct to
Okay.
deal with.
But generally, people welcomes you when it
This
comes
is
to
a
selling their product.
this is a standard
Okay.
practice. This is a standard practice.
Okay.
We visit the infrastructure before we start placing the order with them. While the production is going on, we again go and see the how the product is coming, and then when the final product is ready, again we go for the final thing. I'll give you a very interesting example. So when in one of my previous organizations, we were buying something from India and the cost was somewhere around 10,000 rupees. But when we
Mm.
inquired from China, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, and at these places, the cost was 3,000, 4,000 rupees. And we were surprised as to how is this possible. And then everybody said that don't go to China, substandard, sub quality product and you will spoil everything. You will be wasting your money. Even 3,000, 4,000 is wasted. Now, the simple strategy that I adopted is that when I discussed with that particular person, uh, his name was Bai, and he
Okay.
was such an interesting person. He had a urge of learning Hindi from me, and every time he was a
Okay.
Chinese guy, and every time he used to come to me, we used to come and talk to me. He would try to learn some Hindi word, and I, I was talking to somebody and I said Bhai. So he said that what, you took my name? No, 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 no. I'm not talking your name. Your name is Bai, and India Bhai is brother.
Mm.
So since then he started calling me Bhai. So Vinay Bhai, he
Okay.
used to call. What we did is
Mm.
we placed the order. Now after placing the order, how do I make sure that the ordered material is correct? First thing which I did is that I appointed an audit agency, an international audit agency. There are many, like for example, Bureau Veritas. What was their role?
Okay.
When they started manufacturing, first of all, their first visit was when the raw material came in, the piping came in. They used to study the gauge of that particular pipe, the tubular pipe. They used to take the
Mm.
sample, put it in their laboratory, check for its thickness and all, whether that is correct or not. The exact composition of that particular aluminum pipe. Then finally, when the manufacturing and assembly was going on and the galvanizing was happening, then again the audit person went and they again studied the microns, how many microns of galvanizing or the thickness that is being done. And finally, when they were putting the entire load in the container, so they used to put the load in the container, seal it, take the photograph, send it to us. When they send the product to us, they used to send the entire documents through bank to us, and we used to pay the bank directly. And bank used to give us the
Mm.
documents, and then we used to get it cleared. I can tell you, we brought somewhere around 6,000 roll cages, and those roll
Okay.
cages for next 5 years, 10 years, we did not have any issues in terms of quality. So even with China, even with all those people, all those countries where you feel that the product quality is bad, you can adopt correct processes, correct methodologies to make sure that your product is correct. Whatever you are getting is the right product, right quality, and
Mm.
obviously at a much lower price.
Great. Sir, as we are speaking of China, so what are the 3 points a procurement officer should keep in his or her mind while global sourcing material
First,
from outside India?
yeah, the first thing which uh, which everybody will or should understand is that local support. What is the local support that somebody is having? There would be an organization which is sitting in Sweden, Japan, anywhere in the world. But if I'm buying a product and for servicing of that product, I need engineers from that country, or if I need spare parts from that country, then my whole infrastructure will fail. Because if say a forklift is not working, if I'm buying a Toyota forklift and that spare parts are coming from Japan, then there's no way I can function. If there is a breakdown, then the machine will not be operating from from 3 months, 6 months. So first thing that we should make sure that is in place is the local support. That is the first thing. Second thing is that there is a technology behind the OEM or the original equipment manufacturer. Any products, if you see coming from Germany, Germany is perceived to be very high technology, very high quality product. But when it comes to India, whether that technology is transferred or not, whether that source codes or the exact manufacturing methodology is transferred or not, that is very, very important. So if all those things are not transferred to the Indian entities, then it becomes very difficult for them to again service those products. Third thing is that we have to talk about, we used to talk about effective landed cost of any product, which means that a product might be coming from Calcutta, another product can be coming from Agartala, third product can be coming from Nagpur. Obviously, something which is coming from Nagpur to Mumbai will be cheapest, but which is coming from Calcutta to Mumbai will be higher. For me, basic cost is not important. The importance is of effective landed cost. I go beyond that. After effective landed cost, then we talk about total cost of operations, which means that if the if the life cycle of the product, say for example a scrubber which is used to mop a warehouse, if the scrubber's life is 5 years or 6 years, then what are the consumables which are used? There can be two companies. One company scrubbers
Hmm.
mops 1 meter in dia, another mops 800 centimeter in dia. So the consumables needed for 800 centimeter is less than the 1 meter dia one. Now, what is the cost of the
Hmm.
consumables? If size of my warehouse is 1 lakh square feet, then how much consumable is needed in 1 month, 1 year, 5 years? What is the cost of maintaining that? What is the comprehensive maintenance cost? What is the cost of warranties? And this that is what we call the concept of iceberg. Because what you see on the top is just the cost of the product, but what you don't see is the maintenance cost, is the warranty cost, is the spares cost. When you calculate all these costs, then we come to know total cost of ownership. Today we talk about electric vehicles versus diesel vehicles, and we say these electric vehicle is so costly than diesel vehicles. But has anybody tried to understand that what is the cost of running electric vehicles? Running electric vehicles is just 5% the cost of a diesel vehicle. So in a 5 year life cycle, electric vehicle is going to cost much lesser than a diesel vehicle. Another thing is that after 5 years, what is the scrap cost? What is the disposal cost? So when I calculate any pricing, I calculate the total cost of ownership rather than the effective landed cost. So three things to summarize. One is the local support in terms of the Indian entity, which which can come and stand in case of any problem. Second is the technology transfer, and third is the total cost of operations for say 5 years or the life cycle of the product. These things are very important when we are doing any kind of global.
हाँ जी सर। तो सर आपकी आई होप आई एम ऑडिबल।
Yeah.
ओके। तो सर आपकी प्रोफाइल में आई हैव सीन दैट यू एट वन प्लेस यू हैड मेंशन्ड that you handled more than 2000 SKUs, out of which 30% were the first time vendors and first time product. So my question would be around that area itself. So what are the things that you generally keep in your mind when it comes to selecting first time vendors?
So when we are dealing with any person for the first time, there are two, three things which are very important. One is, first of all, first thing is basically, is it a one-time purchase or a recurring purchase? So if it is a one-time purchase, then I don't have to worry too much about it. It's just that I need to make sure that he will be able to take my order. That is, that is the first thing that I have to make sure. When I'm dealing with the first time vendors, the most important thing is that for as it is first time for me, for him also it is first time. So he might be dealing with other vendors also. He might be having existing orders also, and obviously there is some kind of a doubt in the minds that whether he would supply or not, or whether he would prioritize or not. So he might be having his regular vendors, and just to make sure that his regular business is not affected, he would supply them first before supplying to me. At any point of time, what is his capacity? For example, if he is manufacturing a bottle, and if I am buying a bottle, then if his capacity is 1000 bottles and his current order on the books is 500 orders, then I can be sure that he will supply. But if his in his order book, and if his clientele is such that he's supplying them much more than his capacity, then it becomes very difficult for me to place an order to him, because I'm not sure whether he would supply to me on, or on time. Or so supply guarantee is something I look forward when I choose any new vendor. Second thing is financial stability of the vendor, whether he has got a backup, he has got a working capital to take my order or not. Sometimes people accept order, but they are not able to fulfill the order because they don't have that money to even make the raw material. Once in one of the very big organizations, I'll not take the name, I placed an order on a small vendor, not a small vendor, a medium sized vendor. But I had dealt with that vendor in my previous organization. So when I gave that big order for him, he got worried. And from Gujarat, he flew to Mumbai and he came to my office. He was just trying to check my credentials, that if he supplies the material, whether I would pay him or not. So that is the kind of fear he had in his mind. And similarly, the same fears are in my mind also, whether he would be able to, supply the correct material or not. Third, like any, if you hire a new person, what do? You do a background check, background verification, or a police verification. Obviously, I'm not doing a police verification here, but background verification in terms of his credentials, his success rates, his quality, uh, his parameters in terms of shortage, his returns policy, his servicing policy. All those things are very important. And finally, most important thing is that how you are making that contract, how you are putting the terms and conditions and clauses in that contract so that you protect your end. And when these things are covered, then it becomes easy for you. In case of panic buying, last minute buying, sometimes it happens that you fall in a trap because you don't have the time, you just negotiate or you just finalize, and you pay the vendor. There are some times where advance is being asked by the vendor. Now, how are you giving that advance? Are you taking a advance bank guarantee for him from him or not? Or are you taking some kind of a assurance from him or not? Or is somebody standing uh, and vouching, saying that yes, he will supply the material? All these things are important, and that's how we normally choose any new.
Okay. Sir, as I mean, you were mentioning about the legal complication and all those things. So I wanted to understand, uh, is it the legal team who creates the entire contract, or do you also get involved in that whenever you are entering into any contract with, let's say, the seller and you being the buyer? What should be the conditions? What should be the clauses that should be there? So how does the legal aspect goes of purchasing or procurement?
So there are two things. First thing is that it depends upon company to company. Many organizations uh, depends upon how, what is the structure of each organization, how is each organization putting their authority schedule, and that is how they decide. But broadly, what I can say is that when I'm negotiating with the vendor, the terms, the conditions, the clauses, all those things is something which I define, I dictate, I negotiate, I finalize in the interest of the organization. However, legal is there because I may finalize something which might not be legally correct, or which might not be legally in good standing. Somebody has committed something to me and I accept it, or somebody has put certain clause which I which I put it in the agreement, but that is not enforceable by the rules of law, by the laws of the land. If the laws of the land do not permit that kind of a clause,
Yeah.
so it does not mean anything. So obviously, they are the experts in their field, they are the experts in legal matters, so they will know much more. And that is where we have to work very, very collaboratively in terms of making them understand the context, and they will provide you the inputs in terms of what is the legal standby or legal stand, uh, in terms of what the law says, what the laws of
Okay.
land says. This becomes much more important when you are dealing with an overseas vendor, because
Okay.
that vendor is supplying from some other country. The laws apply to them in a different way and they are supplying here. I cannot catch hold of them.
Mm.
So, how do I make sure that my interests are protected? How do I make sure that legally I am able to catch him? And that is where the role of legal department becomes very, very.
So, sir, have you read any law because of your job as a procurement officer that compelled you that at least I should have a basic understanding of these three laws or acts or whatever is it?
Yeah, I have many. I've read many such laws, Indian
Okay.
Contracts Act, and there are many such laws
Okay.
which we have to study, which we go through. Uh, when GST was being introduced, although it was not very, from a procurement perspective, what was important for me is what is the percentage of the GST and all. But
Mm.
we underwent training courses to understand the
Okay.
details and the nitty gritties behind. That's what we do. Again, I call it as a part of the homework. We should have an understanding. Somebody
Yeah.
should not make a fool of us saying that, look, this is what happens, and not knowing anything, I'll just say, okay, ठीक है, चलो चलता है. Mhm.
True, true, true. Sir, as we are discussing so many things about procurement, if you have to uh, I can understand that when it comes to procurement cost, so definitely we can divide that cost into two parts, direct cost and indirect cost. But that would be way too layman approach. If you have to categorize procurement cost into different components, so what would be those components that a person who is getting into this field, even a normal person who is not working in a very big company, so what are the components of procurement cost he should be aware of while making any decision?
So honestly, direct, indirect, all these things are terms and terminologies. What any person should understand is that how is this product made? What all things have gone behind making of this product. For example, if I am talking about, say, if I have to buy this is a Santa sock. Now, there is something which is in red. There's a ceiling which has happened here. There's some cloth. There are two eyes. There's one nose. There are some two trinklets here. There's something here. There is one thing which one string here that is put somewhere. Then there's a glue here which is put here. Or these are the various things which go to make this particular piece. Now, what is the size of the what is the you know what we call in Hindi the pana, the
Mm.
width of the cloth.
Molds.
In 1 meter of cloth, how much such kind of things can be made? Whether he is making manually, manual cutting is happening, or it is being made by machine. If manual cutting is happening in 1 hour, how much such caps can be made? If this is red, how is this cutting happening? If these are two simple eyelets, half kind of things which are being made, what is the cost of each? There's a glue which is being used. If I'm buying one bottle of glue, then in that one bottle of glue, how much can I make manufacture? All these small things, you just calculate and you will come to know. But now if somebody will ask me and say that you are buying an iPhone, how do you get all these costs? You can't get it all. The only thing that you can get is in the market, what is the rate which others are supplying. So there are certain categories where you can break the cost down, and there are certain categories where you have to depend on what is the discount available by various dealers in the market, what is the bulk discount, how much you are purchasing in a year, what is your long term strategy. If you are telling him that I'll buy 12 such phones every month, then there will be different costing. If you are saying that if you are buying only one phone 1 month, then there will be a different costing. These things have to be known in advance. So I term this as one simple word as just common sense. If you have common
Hmm.
sense, if you are into detailing of that product, you have to detail that product. Once you detail that product, it becomes very easy for you to find out the price. You have to go in
Sir,
depth. Definitely, you have to go in depth.
yeah. I have a funny question. Definitely, we had a very intense discussion. So, my funny question is around whenever you see any product, or let's say your car, so or anything when you go to the market, so you see at their face value that what would be the benefit or how comfortable the product is, or because of you being in the procurement department, you dissect each and every part of that product and think about that product in its cost term.
Yeah, that is something. So when I go with my wife or daughter in the market, and if I buy and somebody is quoting a high price, so there's a natural tendency, and he'll say the cost of this is 10 rupees. So I'll say, okay, so you are selling this for the cost is 10 rupees for a dozen. So no, sir, it's not a dozen, it's a single piece price. This is something which happens as a buyer, as a negotiator. Our mind always
Mhm.
goes into that kind of a thing. So when you are in that particular profession, you tend to think of all those things. Negotiation is a, anyway, negotiation is something different. That is not the question. I was going to narrate a very funny incident about negotiation.
Definitely, we will be covering that question as well. But before that, one very pertinent question, and specifically it came to my mind when I was going through your profile. So there was one big organization, and they had no structured procurement department. And then you came into the picture and you established their entire procurement department. So how challenging that particular task was, and what were the things that you performed while establishing the entire procurement department for that organization?
Yeah, so actually, it was very difficult, and it was not difficult in terms of category management, because whenever you are establishing any department, or whenever you are establishing any function, typically what do you look into is the categories. What are the categories? What is it that you are buying? If somebody is buying very heavily on one particular thing, then you should have a specialist person for that particular thing. From procurement perspective, it's not very difficult to do all those things, to do things on paper and PPT. The challenge comes in change management. The challenge comes in making people understand that I can do things probably more scientifically and better than you. And here I come to the first thing that said at the start of our discussion, wherein I said that everybody is buying right from day one. When he was a child, when he was a 4-year old, when he was a 5-year old, they are buying. So they think that they can buy anything. But buying scientifically, buying professionally is something very, very different. And it takes time to make people understand that if I am here in this picture, then I can do things better way. And you have to prove yourself. The only way of doing this is you have to prove yourself. So it was a slow and consistent approach, proving them at every point of time, having their trust, making them believe that you are doing something good for them. And that's how you uh, create structures, that's how you create trust in any organization.
Okay. So, sir, my next question is going to be something out of which I want to create a short clip as well. So you have to tell me what are the three things a person should keep in his or her mind to become a better negotiator. Three things, and then you can elaborate it.
Three things for a better negotiator.
Yeah.
One is homework, homework, homework. So he has to be prepared much in advance. Second thing is, while negotiating, body language and observation. While he's negotiating, what he's observing of the person who has come to negotiate with him. What is the level of the person? Is he a decision maker, or is he not a decision maker? That is the second thing. Observation and body language plays a great role while you are negotiating. And finally, never let a stalemate hamper your negotiation, which means that there will be times when obviously there are conflicts. He has got a certain rate, I have got a certain rate, and there is a concept called partner, and you have to be prepared with partner. What is partner? PATNA, best alternative for a negotiated agreement. So if you have to be ready with the circumstances, that if this does not go through, what is my second option, what is my third option, what is my fourth option? If you are sitting on the negotiation table, and then sitting and then thinking about what is the second option, then it becomes very difficult for you to close any name. You have to understand what are the things that you can do to close this negotiation. So when I approach any negotiation, some kind of mind mapping I do. If not this, then this. If not that, then what? Then what, and then what? And finally, if all these things don't happen, then sorry, we cannot go. We cannot do anything about it. So we close the discussion from that point. Again, if there's a compulsion, no, you have to close it at any cost, then that strategy is, which means that you have to buy, and if I have to buy a iPhone, I have to go and buy from Apple only. I cannot go and buy from Samsung, and I have no other choice. So whatever he's saying, he might be dictating. I can see what is the benefit that he can give me. Can he give me some additional warranty? Can he give me a headphone? Can he give me some freebie? Can he give me some additional discount on the second and the third purchase? And that's how you can make things. So all these things come under Batna. And if your Batna is ready, then negotiations are very, very successful. And obviously, one thing which I also do a lot is fun. I have a lot of fun while negotiating. It cannot be a serious affair, and some kind of an out of box thinking is required. And that's where I'll tell you about one incident wherein we were
Yeah,
negotiating.
yeah.
I was sitting with my boss and we were negotiating something, and while negotiating something, the person, he was not coming down on the rates. And this was when I was in Gujarat, Ahmedabad. His name was
Mhm.
Kamlesh, and he was not coming down. He was constantly saying, this is my final price, this is my final price, this is my final, and we were saying, this is high, this is high. And it was beyond the logic. He kept on maintaining that. Finally my boss got frustrated, and this is not something which I had said, he said. And he said that, who has given, he said in Gujarati, who has given you this name Kamlesh? It is totally wrong. And that person was zapped. You know, what is he saying? Kamlesh गलत नाम है. हाँ बिल्कुल गलत
Mm.
नाम है. ना तुम कम कर रहे हो, ना तुम लेस कर रहे हो, तुमको किसने कमलेश नाम दिया? That person started laughing and he said, sir, जो लिखना है लिख दो, मैं साइन कर दूंगा. And that is how you break the ice. That is how you
Mm.
make sure that you are connecting with that person. I always use the example of, uh, while you are evaluating any speech in Toastmasters, we talk about care methodology, which is connecting, appreciating, recommending, and then evaluating, and then finally in the end. Now connection is very important. When I sit in any
Yeah.
negotiation, my first thing is that, how do I connect with it? So there will be a lot of talks, random talks about how is he going, how was his air journey, how was his flight, if he had food or not, all those things. That helps you connect with that person. When that person feels connected, then you start appreciating about his organization, about whatever good they are doing, and which is not wrong, all
Mm.
the right things. And after that, when you have established the connect, then it has become easy for you to negotiate any. And that is where I
Awesome.
say that,
Yeah,
for
this
me,
was.
negotiation is fun. And when people talk about their job, I say job is joy of buying. It is not my job. It is the joy that I get from my buying profession.
Nice perspective, sir. So, as we are speaking of negotiation, what are the three favorite book of yours?
So there's one book which I love, is there's a book called Never Split a Difference. Now that book is written by a FBI negotiator who negotiates the cases of kidnapping and hijacking. Now
Mhm.
if we talk about negotiation, we are all doing dead cases, which means these are not live cases. So you must have heard that joke about a doctor and a car mechanic, wherein the car mechanic said, I'm also opening the body of the car, I'm also repairing the heart, engine and all, and you are also opening the heart, so we are doing the same thing. The doctor said that, boss, you are repairing the car when the car is not running, it is in the standing or the closed position. However, when I am opening the body of the person, he's a live person. Similarly, in negotiation, when I am negotiating a dead case, which means there is a price which is to be paid and there's service which is to be rendered. It does not make a difference if that thing goes beyond 1 day, 2 day, forward or later. But an FBI negotiator is negotiating live
Mhm.
cases. Somebody is holding somebody to ransom, and if he does not negotiate properly, he'll kill that person. Those negotiation strategies are very, very important. So if you get time, never split the difference. Read that book. There's another book called Persuasion. Again, it talks about various strategies about persuasion. How do you persuade a person? How do you can communicate your viewpoint? And there's another book called by the same author, Persuasion. Now, in that,
Persuasion.
for
Okay.
persuasion, what are the things that you need to do to create the platform for the persuasion, to create a platform for a harmonious negotiation? I have never split the difference. I think I must have read this book at least 5 6 times, and
Okay.
I start reading that book from anywhere, and that's how much I like that book, because it talks about real time negotiation, not a dead.
Thank you, sir. I mean, and now I'm running short of questions because I've got a good clarity as to the entire procurement aspect, negotiation, purchasing anything, and also going behind the psyche of the person, dissecting the product into different components, thinking about the cost of each and every part that has been used to manufacture that product. Uh, So it was a very delightful session for me, and I mean, I have personally gained a lot. So definitely, as we are recording it, once we are done with the processing of it, I'll be watching it again and again to gain different perspective from the conversation that we just had. Last thing, if I have to ask you, would be what is the message that you want to give to someone who wants to come into the procurement industry or who wants to become a great buyer? One last message.
If somebody wants to become a great buyer, there are 2 3 things I've been saying again and again. One is common sense, second is homework, third is observation. uh, when when I went for the interview once, and he asked me, what is it that helps you in your purchasing, buying? So I told him that my background in theater, my background as a stage artist, my background as somebody who's a keen observer of things helps me in negotiation. And that person, gentleman, was zapped when I said that. And I mean it. Why? Because as a person, performing arts person, you must be knowing, we when we perform on stage, what do? We observe from outside world and bring it in front of the audience and stage. When we are doing a storytelling, we are catching the story from somewhere random place and we are converting it on the stage. These are all observations, nothing but observation. So as a procurement person, you have to do homework, you have to be a keen observer, and obviously you have to use just your common sense. They are bookish things. I would say bookish because follow the processes, follow the systems, follow the rules. All those things are there, but detailing is very, very important. It might be important in any other field, but when I talked about the breaking up of the cost, various cost components and all, there you have to apply common sense. There you have to make sure that you are using all these. And I'm sure, anybody who goes through that churn becomes much better person.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for coming on to our show and providing your great insights. I'm pretty much sure that whosoever will be watching this episode will be learning a lot from the conversation that we just had. Thank you once again, sir. Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Thank you, Ankur. Thank you so much. Bye.